Hi, I'm Allison here to practice flute with you, and today we're going to be focusing on the ILMEA Cycle 3 audition with the Andersen Andante Cantabile Romance. This is the etude that is used in the Illinois All District and All State auditions, and one of the things that makes it most challenging is the fact that it is in C sharp minor. So before playing this excerpt, you might become familiar with the C sharp minor scale, especially focusing on the C sharp natural minor scale, which is what the opening and closing tend to focus on. Be sure to feel comfortable playing down to low C sharp in the flute, and up to the fifth above C sharp, the high G sharp is about the range that you'll need for this excerpt. This year's excerpt will begin in measure 18, which is where the theme returns for the final time before moving into the 16th note development section. And that's where we will begin today. To practice together, I'm going to start by demonstrating the phrase and then talking through it with you all. So maybe the first time I'll play it and you can listen. So moving up, we simply went through the C sharp natural minor scale, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, B, A, G sharp. So again, it's just really becoming familiar with that C sharp minor scale. The counting in that is something that as an adjudicator, I listen for quite a lot. So before we play it again, let's practice counting it. Ready, set, counting. 1, 2, and 3, and a 1, and 3, and 1, triplet, 2, and 3, a 1, and a 2, and one of the things I've noticed quite a lot, that dotted quarter note at the end of that opening phrase, many people are playing it as 2 quarter notes instead of dotted quarter note, 8th note. So make sure you think 1 and a 2, and depending on the adjudicator, it might be okay to take a little bit of time there before the breath. Let's try playing that phrase together now. 1, 2, 3. Very good. Now moving on to the second phrase. For a moment here we move into C sharp major. And C sharp major changes the mood of this etude quite a lot, from being kind of reflective, a little sad sounding, to being hopeful. And it's only hopeful for that one measure where we have the E sharp in there. So make sure that you notice in measure 22 we have the E sharp to make C sharp major. And then of course by the next measure that hopefulness has been crushed as we return to C sharp minor. Again, let me demonstrate first. So again, counting is quite crucial in this excerpt. Let's practice counting that much together. If I don't quite hit my high E in singing, forgive me, but I do like to try to sing the shape of the rhythm that I'm counting. Beginning to count, ready, set, count. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, triplet, 3, triplet, 1, triplet, 2, triplet, 3, a 1. Off on 3, the next phrase will begin on 1. As an adjudicator, I like to listen for people counting rests when you're playing in a band or orchestra or an ensemble. Making sure that you know where your rests are is also an important part. Now let's try playing that together, and I will provide a click. Ready, set, go. Also, you notice that in measure 23, we have the F double sharp, which would be fingered similarly to a G. So you have the A, G sharp, F double sharp, A. Double check the pitches there. Beat 3 of measure 23. A, G sharp, F double sharp, A. Fingering the F double sharp like a G. In the following measure, we have the B sharp, which is fingered like a C natural. Coming from the grace note. D sharp, C sharp, B sharp, C sharp, E, D sharp, C sharp. The un poco più mosso section implies potentially a little bit more speed, but there's nothing that specifically says to play faster. Un poco, a little, più is more, and then mosso is motion. So it doesn't necessarily say a little more tempo or a little faster tempo, it just says more motion. Simply moving from eighth notes and quarter notes to 16th notes already provides more motion. I won't, as an adjudicator, personally take off if people do choose to play a faster tempo there, as long as they're playing well. However, I do caution performers to not sacrifice musicality for tempo. So the importance is creating a fluid, lyrical shape here, even through the 16th notes. Let's break this down section by section. In first learning this, I highly recommend practicing a beat at a time, a beat plus a note. So B, G sharp, F double sharp, G sharp, D sharp, pause. D sharp, E, A sharp, B, C sharp, pause. C sharp, B, G sharp, E, C, and so forth. If this is new to you, then perhaps you will practice that with a teacher, or you can also find my online resource. There is a Flute Students Steps to Success that's available for purchase at practiceflute.com. A $5 download gives you about 30 pages of practice for this year's excerpts. For now, we're going to take it 4 measures at a time. So moving from measure 26, the first measure of the un poco più mosso, through to where the A sharp leads B, C sharp, to the piano marking there, to the downbeat C sharp. Going 4 measures at a time and going under tempo to double check that we're playing the right notes. Just before we even begin, notice in measure 27 you have C, F sharp, A, C. That is still going to be a C natural from earlier in the measure. If you haven't marked it, go ahead and mark it. Many people miss that. Even if they practice it right on the day of the audition, if it's not marked, it's oftentimes one of those things that our anxiety helps us forget. So before we even begin, notice that. Also, the F double sharps will be fingered like a G in both octaves. And then in the final measure of the 4 that we'll start with, measure 29, also notice that we have a C natural coming down. So it's C, E, C, A, F sharp, E, C, A sharp. So all of those C's in that 4th measure are also C naturals. I'll demonstrate first. You can listen and follow the pitches. You may even practice saying the note names while thinking and fingering. B, G sharp, F double sharp, G sharp, D sharp, E, A sharp, B, C sharp, B, G sharp, E, C, F sharp, A, C, E, F sharp, A, G sharp, F sharp, B, G sharp, F double sharp, G sharp, D sharp, E, A sharp, B, C sharp, B, G sharp, E, C, E, C, A, F sharp, E, C, A sharp, B, C sharp, and so forth. I think translating the music makes learning it, especially this highly chromatic music, much easier to learn. Let's try playing it together. 1, 2, 3, E, and. And ending on that piano C sharp. Let's take the next 4 measures, which develops that a little bit. Again, a beat plus a note here is very helpful, and even a measure plus a note. So let me first demonstrate the 4 measures. This is measure 30 through 33, starting on the piano C sharp and ending after the E, D sharp, D sharp, C sharp, C sharp, D sharp, D sharp, C, B, A, F sharp, D sharp, B. Take one measure at a time together, finding out those notes. First measure beginning on the C sharp. 1, 2, 3. And make sure you also paid attention to the articulation. The first 2 are slurred, and then the rest are slurred to the A, G sharp. Next measure, starting on the A, G sharp, moving all the way through to the measure to the next C sharp, B sharp. 1, 2, 3. Repeating as many times as you need to make sure you have all the right notes. Taking the next measure, starting on the C sharp, going to the E, D sharp in the next measure. Mezzo forte. 1, 2, 3. And the final measure, 1, 2, 3. And now taking all 4 of those measures together. So starting at the piano and moving through that 4th measure. 1, 2, 3. The next 4 measures are the same as the first 4. Let's go ahead and play it again together. 1, 2, 3. The difference is this time we stopped on a D natural instead of a C sharp. The next 3 measures have a whole lot of chromaticism in them, so let's break them down again. The first measure, D, C sharp, F double sharp, G sharp, B, A sharp, E sharp, finger like an F sharp, E natural, D sharp, C sharp, B, C, B. Okay, so the E sharp, F sharp, E is one of the trickier parts in here. This is one of the cases where there's a natural sharp in front of the F. That's indicating that previously it had been double sharp and now it's just singular sharp or just regular sharp. So let's just play those 3 notes, E sharp, F sharp, E, to make sure that we're understanding those correctly. Now I'll play the measures, you follow the notes again. Let's try playing the measure together. 1, 2, 3. The next measure we have C, B, E sharp, finger like an F sharp, A, G sharp, E, D sharp, C sharp, B, A, G sharp, E sharp is the next note on the line. So for a lot of my students, I'll write the word or the letter E sharp at the end of that line, so that way as their eyes are reading ahead, they know that the next line is going to start with the E sharp. If you missed any of those accidentals when thinking through, go ahead and write them in now. I will play that measure for you. And let's try together. 1, 2, 3. exaggerating the slurs compared to how I would normally play it, but I want for you to know for sure that you're using the articulation on the page, in case your adjudicator is a real stickler for articulation. The final measure of those three starts with the E sharp, F sharp, D sharp, F sharp, D sharp, E, C sharp, B sharp, C sharp, A, G sharp, F double sharp, G sharp. I've noticed a lot of students making a mistake right at the D sharp on beat 2, so maybe mark that in if you haven't yet, and I'll play that measure for you. And playing it together. 1, 2, 3. Then we have a return to the slower feeling lyrical section with the quarter notes, the eighth note triplets, and eighth notes. Again, pay attention to your sharps: G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, C sharp, D sharp, E, D sharp, F sharp, A, G sharp, F sharp, E, D sharp, C sharp, B sharp. Playing those first two measures, I'll start in the G sharp. And again, pay careful attention to the eighth note triplets. How to break down the subdivision of those eighth note triplets is also worked out in the Flute Student Steps to Success workbook available online. Let's try playing that together. 1, 2, 3. The next two measures are almost exactly the same notes, just down an octave. Take note, at the end of the line we have the low C sharp, which is the first pinky key down here. When you move from that C sharp to the G sharp, I oftentimes will encourage my students to leave the pinky as it is and just change the rest of the fingers, rather than try to drag the pinky over from the C sharp to G sharp. If your teacher does not like that for some reason, please go with what they're suggesting as well. But if you don't have a reason not to do that, go ahead and give it a try now. Think that low E, D sharp, C sharp, open the hand and put the left pinky down for G sharp. Just try those three notes. So if that made it easier for you to get the G sharp, then maybe it's worth using that little trick. Let's play those two measures, beginning in measure, I think it is measure 40. I've lost count by now. Maybe it's 42, on the B sharp where the pianissimo is. Starting right on the B sharp, I will demonstrate. Be careful not to let your head drop down as you're moving down the scale to the C sharp. Our head tends to follow the topography or the shape of the music, so when the notes go down, our head goes down, and that will probably lower the pitch too far for that C sharp. If anything, we probably want to keep the C sharp up. Keep the chin up, air down. Do take note before we play that together that in beat 2, the and is still a B sharp, so it's B sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, C sharp, D sharp, E, D sharp, F sharp, A, G sharp, F sharp, E, D sharp, C sharp, G sharp. Let's try playing those two measures together, starting with the pianissimo B sharp. I take my breath immediately after the B sharp. 1, 2, 3. Very good. And the rest we mostly have some low G sharp A. The rhythm in here is important. So starting on the dotted 8th, 16th G sharp, simply counting 3, 1, and 3, 1, and 2, 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 1. And your district may have put the cut before the C sharp, but I can promise you every adjudicator is going to appreciate if you play that C sharp because it sounds much more complete when it actually ends that way. Let me demonstrate the rhythm beginning at the tronquillo. And if you need to take a breath in there, sometimes I take a breath before the 16th note G sharp, sometimes I take it in random other places. So maybe discuss with your teacher or play it for a few people and let them help you decide what sounds best for you and where you need to breathe. Let's try playing it together from beat 3, the tronquillo, starting at G sharp, A, A. I'll count off 1, 2. 1, 2. So that's the entire excerpt that we use for this year's audition. Let's go back to the beginning of the un poco più animato and play slowly together that entire 16th note section to the end. So beginning at the un poco più animato, un poco più mosso. 1, 2, 3. And I was trying to tap my foot for you to hear the pulse for today. I do recommend practicing with a metronome. There is room for a little bit of rubato in here, but a lot of that flexibility of tone can happen with the notes that you stretch just a little bit or add vibrato to, and really you don't need to change the length or the rhythm of this very much at all. So do practice with a metronome as you're learning this better, and then after you've gotten comfortable with the metronome, maybe allow yourself just a little bit of freedom or flexibility without. I hope this video has helped you feel more comfortable learning the notes and the rhythms of the ILMEA Cycle 3 audition of the Andersen Andante Cantabile. If you would like to find more tutorials, please follow this YouTube station with Practice Flute. Visit practiceflute.com for more video tutorials, as well as the resource for the written material that accompanies this or actually embellishes much further. And if you liked the way that this video sounded today, I'm actually playing on a student flute, a Gemeinhardt 3OSHB. So it's a solid silver head joint on a silver-plated body with open holes and a B foot. And you might check with your Gemeinhardt.com for your local authorized dealer of Gemeinhardt flutes if you'd like for more information on the instrument itself. Thanks a lot, and enjoy your time as you practice flute.